Hello and welcome to the Plat podcast. We've got a lot on docket today. We're talking about RLCSX Fall European Regional Event 3. Um, and it's a lot to talk about because it all went down in 1 week. So we're talking about it in full, Stage 1, Stage 2, playoffs. Then we're going to talk about the teams that made it into the major, what teams we think will make it into the major, the cusp teams for NA, and then we're going to go over the grid week 8.
8, yeah.
Yes, okay. Had to double check.
Hmm.
So a lot to go over. A lot of Rocket League. A lot of it we missed just because there was so much, and I was working this past weekend, so a lot of it I didn't even have the chance to see. But you know, we'll just jump right into it. So with me
Yeah,
as
so,
always, we got Wally. How you doing, sir?
yep.
All right,
What's up?
go for it.
So for Group A, we don't have much to talk about, and we talked about that before. I mean, if you look at both Group A and Group B, you can definitely see Group B is much more interesting, and has a lot more, like, excitement around it because so many more of those teams are just better than the teams that were in Group A. I think we can all agree on that.
Yeah.
Um, Things that we really have to say is Top Looks, BDS, Endpoint, Galaxy Racer, the new Monkeys roster. Solary, Barrage, Guild, and Name Seekers make it through. And so the Galaxy Racer is the new team. That's exciting because it's nice to see another team signed with an org. So hopefully that works out. I think the name's cool. I like space, so it's nice. And they're playing really well of late. If you've been seeing what Monkeys and then Galaxy Racer have been doing in the grid of late and this regional event, they have been doing pretty solid overall, and they've been really climbing the ranks. And it's really nice because I'm a big Arju fan because I think it's fun to watch him. And it's nice to see that he did super well at the end of last season, and then it was like he did not so great at the start or in the winter time, and I mean the summertime. Whoa. And then they were like Mouse Sports was like, nah. And it was sad to see that because it's like this one guy who's been on the cusp for a while gets his chance and like plays better than Scrub Killa on that team. And then now he's on Galaxy Racer and they're all playing super well with Matean and Ixo, so it's nice to see them. But other than that, Rick's GG also did not make it. Well, they didn't make it. They are the old Stormtroopers roster. I believe that's an org, but I'm not sure if that's just a name change or it's an org.
I think it's
It's
an
an
org.
English org.
Yeah, they
Yeah,
got
yeah, yeah.
signed. Otherwise, why would you
So
change the
that's a
name?
nice one to see that they get signed, and both of us on the Plat Routes podcast
Yep.
really enjoy apparently Jack. So it's cool to see that he's on a
Honestly, I just
team.
like that
Seven.
whole team. I just wish
Yeah, the
I wish
team's a
they
lot of fun.
I wish they'd make it past the first round.
I wish that they were just slightly better. But when they play well, it's a lot of fun. But
Yep.
other than that, I don't think we have that much else to say about Group A.
I don't. What I'd say is mainly, uh, Magnifico not making it to the group stage. They didn't even make it to top 32, but they're fine. They were already basically through the major as it was, so nothing too much to worry about. The only thing to worry about is the fact that you just didn't make it here. So hopefully it was just one bad day.
Yeah.
And then I have a little more to say for Group B, just because Dignitas beating out Triple Trouble, Singularity, and Giants, which are all three good teams. Reason they probably beat the Giants though was because of Tox.
Mm-hmm.
If anyone was wondering why the Giants went out in the first round, it's because Tox got a ban for language that he claimed was in a team chat in a private match, but I don't know why that would ban him or if that's the auto ban system. Regardless, he got a 72-hour ban, I think on like Wednesday or Thursday morning, which meant he was just out for the entire weekend. Not that it mattered because they were out in the first day. Um, and then from Group B as well, Triple Trouble and Singularity not making it out of the top 32, which could be kind of rough because I think it's I don't remember where Triple Trouble's sitting right now in terms of the ranks. One second. Um,
Oh, they're the
yeah,
last team.
okay, Triple. Yeah, oh, that was close. Yeah, they really scraped the edge there, and Singularity just missed out because they didn't move on. So, um, that's rough for those two teams. Like Triple Soul was going to come in with the worst seeding, and Singularity missed out just because they couldn't win that final game.
Yeah, and they're both game fives.
Yeah, so that's brutal. Um, Outside of that, we can move right along, I guess, to stage two. Stage two was more the same. Top
Oh
blokes
well,
and oh,
one other thing
go for
though was for Group B was it was a good thing to see Oxygen and Team Liquid actually performing well
it. Yes.
on a RLC like the Rocket League official stream. Whenever it's a big event like this, they're usually bad, and they actually played well the first time in a long time. So it was cool to see them. They didn't play anyone. They didn't play the Vitality or I mean, Liquid played Vitality and then lost, but they didn't beat a Vitality or Barca. But they did perform well that they beat teams that they should be beating.
Yeah.
Oxygen got lucky that Giants weren't their top team, so that helped them. But it was nice to see them actually make it beyond the group stage because I don't think Oxygen had prior,
No.
and Liquid, if they did, they got instantly taken out the next
Yes.
time. So it was nice to see them do this, and it wasn't, oh, I scraped in on a 3-2. Both were a 3-0 and a 3-1, respectfully. So it
Yeah.
was nice to see that. But that's the only other thing I had for Group B.
All right. Then we can move right along to stage two then, where we saw a little bit more of the same from top blokes, BDS, Vitality, Barca, the same top teams making it through. But you know, to contrast exactly what you
Yep.
were just talking about,
Yep.
Oxygen and Liquid don't make it through the playoffs, which I guess is still an improvement from last regional event, but still kind of disappointing for both teams.
It's underwhelming for teams of that caliber.
So the teams you get making it through the playoffs in this order: Top Blokes, BDS, Renault Vitality, Galaxy Racers, Barca, Guild, Dignitas, and Endpoint.
Your boys
Yeah,
Diggy.
Dignitas are finally looking good again. Verge, after 8 weeks of hitting his head against the wall, decided, what if we just don't make infield passes? And they've stopped doing that, and now they're winning. Wow, who could have figured that out? Um, so they're Dignitas is now just playing really strong defense. They've basically just turned Violent Panda into Gibbs 2.0, and I think that's really helping Yukio and Jory's confidence because now they're scoring, and hopefully once like they get their confidence up and they're shooting up and they're like they start playing really well, then you can start to bring Violent Panda back into the rotation, and I think Dignitas can be a really strong team again. Another thing I think holding him back is Panda's injury is still hurting him. For anyone who doesn't know, he's been battling with tendonitis literally the entire season in one of his hands, if not both. I think it's only one hand.
Yeah, I
To a
think it's just
point where
one.
he literally just didn't play in the grid today. But then again, I guess the grid wasn't terribly important because they're already through to the major. But I mean, it's something that's clearly affecting him on the day to day. So who knows if it's how much it's actually affecting his play. But to
He
see,
said 2 weeks. Yeah,
I
he
know
said it
he's
was a
I know he's
2 week.
out for 2 weeks, but I mean like in like the heat of a game, I don't know if it's affecting him, like how much it's affecting him, like his play.
Yeah, I know what you mean. He could
Yeah.
definitely like spaz for like he could like quickly move his thumb for a ball, and that could really hurt him.
Yeah, or
You
something.
never know. The
Yeah.
types of injuries for
Or it just
esports
it
are
just it
different.
makes him like react slower. I don't know. I just don't know how it affects his hand in game. All I know is that it's painful for him to to play as much as he does, and that probably hurt him. He's not used to playing this much Rocket League, make it into the playoffs. Um, so Dignitas making it through, and Endpoint making it through, reverse sweeping the Swiss stage, I guess is how the way to describe it, as they lost the first two rounds, then won the next three to, and then just handily beating Oxygen as well. And
Yeah,
Endpoint is looking really strong. Metsonoris is so good. He's just absolutely dominating, and Virtuoso has started to like edge off on his demo bump game. So now he just kind of does it when they need him to, and not so much just chasing people around the field. And I think that's really
yeah,
working in their favor because it's leaving them less open nets and making them stronger defensively. and then because of that, it's giving Metz Norris that space to play like an offensive god that he's been this past weekend. So hopefully more of that can continue, and we'll talk about both of those players playing well in the playoffs, which we'll get to in a moment. Anything else you got for stage two?
Not really. It was cool to see Dignitas actually doing like playing strong, and then Endpoint just like making like it was just like a clear, obvious person team that should make it through over Oxygen.
Mm-hmm.
Like there was nothing beyond it. It was just like you're not making it to the playoffs. So it's cool to see that. Again, top blokes, BDS Vitality is the top three, no surprise. Galaxy Racer above Barca. That was pretty nice to see
Mm-hmm.
because I think they're cool. But no, other than that, and then Guild performing well is also was pretty nice to see. And I mean they got kind of unlucky. They sweep Endpoint and then they barely lose to BDS. They sweep Solary and then barely lose to Barca, but then have to barely squeak through over Fadeaway. So tough for them to like
Yeah,
had like a
and then
long
of
grueling
course,
day.
and
But
then that fadeaway series going to game five as well. It was a long day for Guild. It seems
yes,
like. Um, and then actually, let me
but
just click on.
then if we move
Yeah,
right into the playoffs, really quick exit
actually,
right off
well,
the
I
bat.
want to mention
Oh,
you mentioned that Barca Guild series, which was one of my favorites. I just want to mention this series specifically because this is one of the ones I was just like on the edge of my seat because it was one of those games where Barca wasn't looking that great through the first two games, and then Ronicky scored one goal and then proceeded to just dominate the next three games. Like I can't remember if he scored at the start of game three or at the end of game two, but then he just like went on an absolute tear, like getting a flip reset to win the like to get the game winning goal in game three, and then the reverse sweep went from there. And that's the Barca I love to watch. Barca was looking really strong through this day of the event, and I really wanted to see more of them, but they didn't make it terribly far the following day, which we can now talk about.
hmm. So yeah, the first playoff, like the first quarters game was Vitality Guild. And after a long day for Guild, they lost three straight games, 2-1,
Yeah,
right to Vitality.
if
Do you want to touch more upon it? Because I didn't get to see the quarterfinals. I was busy doing something
okay.
else.
This one was just it. I think just Vitality's the better team. It was really exciting to see a bunch of 2-1 games. Um, but I think actually I think the biggest story, game one, Alpha didn't play in. I don't know if you knew that. Alpha was having internet problems, and Vitality's coach had to come in and play for game one. And because of
Ooh,
that, Guild was like super tentative because they didn't know what he was going to do. Like you have no idea how he's going to play or like how Vitality's going to play around him. So it was them trying to figure out how to play around him. So they were playing super slowly. But then game two, Alpha came back, and then Alpha was just did Alpha things, and then he was able to beat Guild, despite Guild looking more confident in the next two games. But if you want any 2-1 games, just look at this like entirety of the playoffs. Like there were so many 2-1 games. Um, which we can see in the BDS Dig series as well. Because I don't have as much to say about this Vitality Guild series. I think just
also
the
the
better team won.
yeah, and
And
then
then
also the Galaxy Barca one has three of them,
yep,
and then Endpoint Top looks has three more.
yep. There were so many 2-1 games. So BDS and Dig first two games also 2-1. First three games all went to overtime. And this just shows how good Dignitas's defense is. If you're holding BDS to 4 goals through 4 games
Or,
plus
yeah,
overtime in three of those, like you're playing strong defense.
yeah,
Uh, they sort of started to fall apart in game five. I guess as they were really trying to like even up the game and go to score more goals, but then Monkey Moon and Mark just did their thing and extra helped tally some in as well. So it was looking scary for BDS for a little while. It looked like Dig was gonna squeak one out, and then once again, I feel like the better team just ended up pulling through in the end. But BDS definitely wasn't looking as strong this day. They were just like, I don't know what it was about it. Maybe they just weren't moving as fast as they normally do. I think it was Dignitas was really controlling the pace with their slow speed. Like they were slowing the game down so much, so BDS couldn't move at their lightning fast pace, and because of that, it really helped Dignitas. But game 5, when it matters, BDS showed up, and then they went on to play Vitality. Um, Galaxy Racers Barca. Three more 2-1 games. The only non 2-1 game was 2-0. And again, Barca just looking good. Um, I don't think I actually caught this series, but again, it's more close games. Honestly, any of these series in the quarterfinal were good because, as you can see, every single one was close. Top League's endpoint, there were three more 2-1s, and the only one that wasn't was a 3-0 from endpoint in game one. And this was where we started to see Metsonoris just playing really well because I thought for sure Top Leagues were going to win this series, and Metsonoris was just like on another level, like this whole day. I don't know. Did you catch any of the quarterfinals?
I caught a little bit of the top looks endpoint.
Do you have anything to say, or is it just
It
basically what I just said?
was basically what you're talking about, where it's like Metza it was his Sunday.
Oh yeah,
But other than that, not really. I didn't have that much to say about it. It was just like, oh, endpoint is god tier right now. And then I watched the next few series, and
go for it.
especially that endpoint Barca series. Jesus.
Do you want to talk about one of those now then?
Um, do you want to talk about the? Yeah, you. I'll talk about. Yeah, I can talk about it.
Go for it. Just talk about whatever you want to talk about, and I'll do
I'll
whatever
talk about the
next.
endpoint Barca one a little bit, and then
Okay.
we can do like have us both talk about it. I thought it was like, um, insane how many goals endpoint was scoring on Barca.
Mm-hmm.
It was goals galore everywhere. Like you start off with that nice OT game right there. Start off then a low scoring one in game two for a Barca win to tie up the series, and you're like, oh, they're just like feeling each other out, seeing who's gonna win it, and then Endpoint scored 11 goals in the next three games,
Yeah.
while Barca scored five, and didn't score a single goal in game four. Is that yeah?
Yeah.
It was just complete domination all over. It was just like insane to see them make it through to the finals because you're going in, you're not thinking they would. You just expect another BDS Vitality or something like that, or Barca to make it through on that top blokes. I think is better than all three of those teams. They're not better than BDS or Vitality, but
Yeah, like
they're
the
third.
other three in their half of the
Um,
bracket.
Based on this bracket, they should have been in there, and then it's always a coin toss between BDS Vitality at the moment.
Yeah.
And BDS just wasn't on their day today. On Sunday.
And I'd also like
Um,
to point out for the endpoint Barca, first game was 2-1. Game 3 was
yep,
4-2. That's a multiple of 2-1. Game
yep.
5 was 6-3, also a multiple of 2-1. So we're still onto something here.
Well, then the OT was 127, so you get rid of the seven. It's a 2-1
Oh, there it
backwards.
is.
Um, but yeah, it was just like insane to just see how well that like I like that they're not going only for demos and stuff like that. I think this playstyle is way more not just exciting, but it just like works better because like if you only do demos and stuff like that, teams are just going to avoid them, and
Yeah.
it's like that. What I don't remember the name of the tournament where that just like started big time in the summer, but it was like one tournament where it was Relating Wave was literally the only offensive player, and then it was Metza and Virtuoso doing everything physical imaginable.
Yeah.
I don't remember the name of it,
I
but
want to
I
say
like
I
what
can't. I think it was covert, but I really can't remember at this
I think
point.
Covert was. Um,
Oh, that was an NA
and
tournament.
I
Never
think that was an
mind.
NA
Then
thing,
I have not
but
a
I don't.
clue.
It doesn't matter. I like how they're playing now, and you can add to that, however.
Um, I don't have much else to say about that Endpoint Barca series. It's more of the same. It was uh just Mets Norris was again so good all weekend. Um, and this is I think the this if you want to see Endpoint play at their top, it's this series
Mm-hmm.
because
Yep.
Barca was also playing well, and
Yes.
then to see Endpoint just smash them around, and then also just high scoring games are just always exciting to watch. So I'm all for this series all the way. I think this was the series I had the most fun watching, um, through the playoffs.
Yeah, I think so too. Um, and then the other semifinal was Vitality BDS, and even though the both of us kind of agree that BDS wasn't fully on form, it was like it wasn't even when I watched it, I could tell that they weren't getting everything that they wanted, but it wasn't even that, in my opinion. I felt like more it was anytime BDS had any opportunity on offense, um, Vitality would just pull out, like something
Yeah,
insane, and it was just like wow, and it was just like you're not beating them when they were playing that well. They BDS would go attack, they would use their speed and not even just their speed, just their entire creativity, and then they put on an amazing shot, and then someone on Vitality is just coming from the heavens or from some obscene angle, and it's like get that out of here, and
yeah,
then you just I bet as a BDS player, just like what could else can we do? We've literally done everything we do, and we're one of the best teams at doing everything.
yeah,
And they stopped everything. There was just nothing that they could do. I think there was one game where they had so many more shots than Vitality, and then it was just like Vitality still had it like it was an easy win for them scoreline wise, and there was just nothing BDS could do to break through that defense. It just when I saw them play, even though Endpoint was playing super well, and I watched that next, I just thought, oh, I mean, it doesn't matter. I looked up and I saw Endpoint Barca. I was like, even if they're on amazing form, Vitality is their best right now.
yeah.
Um,
It was.
and
I don't remember if it was this series or if it was the one against Guild, but I know there was some Vitality series where there were just for both Vitality, but even more so for the team they were playing against, a ton of post hits. So like Vitality, like on top of playing well, was really getting some of the bounces to go their way,
yeah,
and I mean holding BDS. I mean on top, like you have to be playing well to hold BDS to only one goal through 4 games.
it
Like
was
they,
insane.
yeah, after game one, Vitality shut it down, and I think obviously, like I said, like BDS didn't seem like they were at the top of their game, but BDS, I think they're like 5-1 against Vitality going into this series. So like BDS had been winning a lot of them, and Vitality. I think when Vitality wins games, it's alpha. When Vitality win events, that's when K-Dop shows up. He like Alpha was getting the flashy stuff, but it seemed like K-Dop was getting consistently like points all across the board in against Guild, against BDS, and against Endpoint. Was constantly like picking up a goal and an assist a game. Basically, it seemed like,
Yeah,
and he
I
was
can
he
definitely agree
was
with
he
that.
was a huge part of his team's success. And I think that's when Vitality is as dominant as they are. Is when it's more than just Alpha, and that's when they're frightening because you really never know who's gonna drop one in on you next. And then, of
And
course,
then
game
yeah,
four was 2-1. That's all I have to say.
and then leading into the finals, so then it's Endpoint Vitality. It started off kind of weird. It was like Vitality and Endpoint in a nice little grudge match to start it off, and then next game, Endpoint just like showed what they've been doing against Barca and top blows and just went off, and then they scored 4 goals and didn't let up a single one, and it was like dominating play. And I was like, oh, this is gonna actually be a series, and I was super pumped because going in, I thought Vitality has 100% chance of winning this. No shot for Endpoint. Then another 2-1 happened
We love to see it.
for Vitality, and then it was just basically just more grudge matches. There wasn't a lot of high scoring. It was pretty much just after that. They paired up another 2 games, very super close games, and then Vitality just set up shop, and then only let up 1 goal in the final 2 games, and took home regional event. 3. Honestly, it was just like just a masterclass on their side. Because you're just shutting down such a hot, like that offensive endpoint was just on fire the last
Yeah.
2 days, and then for them to shut that down, um, pretty impressive right there.
And especially, Endpoint scoring 4 goals in game two. That was more than half the goals they scored in the entire series were in one game.
Yep.
And then, of course, 2-2-1 games, both going the way of Vitality. Like, ooh, it's painful.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, we have to end the series in overtime. And Vitality was looking good all day. It was no surprise to me that they were able to beat Endpoint, especially after coming off beating
Yeah, I agree.
BDS. And they finally take a regional. Like as we called last week, he said BDS. If not BDS, it's Vitality. They meet
Yeah.
in the semifinals once again. This time Vitality wins, which means they're winning it all. Simple as that. When in doubt, just go for those two, and you'll get it right 100% of the time.
Hmm.
And with that, we can talk about the European rankings now. We have our top 16 set for the first fall major. Um, and it's looking pretty competitive.
Yeah.
I'm gonna run through these. I won't give the point totals because I'll have some on screen here. We'll just go BDS, Vitality, Top Blokes, Guild, Giants, Endpoint, Barca, Galaxy Racers, Dignitas, Solary, Magnifico, Fadeaway, Barrage, Libertas, Oxygen, and Triple Trouble. Notably missing out, Liquid by 10 points, Singularity missed out by 30, and then our boys, former Stormtroopers, now Rick's GG, missed out by like 60. It would have helped if they had made the second fall regional. But other than that, it's pretty much the teams we expected to go through. Oxygen snuck in. It really helped getting past the first round for once. Um, but yeah, I think this is mostly kind of what we expected. I think the
Yeah.
biggest shock was Barrage making it in. And that was just because of that huge second regional event run they went on.
Yeah, they put it together in that second one to give them a nice buffer for this one.
I think nothing else really needs to be said. I mean, it's pretty straightforward. You can take what you will from a lot of these. Um, Dignitas had a really poor second one as well. Like it seems like a lot of the teams that kind of made it through in mid tier were teams that had like two solid showings and one really bad one. Like Magnifico, 200 points, 100 points, and then didn't even make the regional event. Same with Ricks. They didn't make it to the second regional event. They missed out. You have Oxygen had two really bad regional events and then made it through. I'm trying to see if there was any team that was like, I guess Galaxy Racers 100, 100, 150. That's like one of the most consistent mid-level teams because obviously Vitality and BDS and like I mean Guild 150, 150, 150. I think they went out in the quarterfinals every single round. So consistently a good team that Guild is. But yeah, that's all you need to know. Those are the teams making it through. And we'll cover that when we get to it. But we still have North America next week. And speaking of North America, we can talk about who we think is gonna sneak in for their fall major, as we have their regional event next weekend in full. So we're just gonna talk about. I guess we'll discuss 14 through 22. It looks like. So you've got at sitting at 100 total points. You got 72 PC, Down to Earth, Plot Twist version 1, Charlotte Phoenix at 90, Adept and Nefarious at 80, and then E United and Omelet both at 60 points. All battling for those final 3 spots. And I'm curious who you think is going to sneak on in.
I think those final 3 would be probably it's tough. I think E United will get in.
Okay.
I think with their roster change they can be better than what they've shown. I think Plot Twist will make it through.
Mm-hmm.
And then did you include 72 PC or no?
Yes.
In the that they already made it? Is it them
No, no,
down?
it's 72 PC to Omelet.
I'd probably then say it's between Omelet and version 1 and 72 PC.
I mean, right
I
now
think
Omelet
version
is the
1. I think
lowest.
version
Yeah.
1.
So as I
I
say,
think Plot Twist version 1 United. There you go.
I think I have to agree. I don't know. Adept could surprise us because they had a really good second regional event. But honestly, haven't seen enough of them to know really exactly how good they are. We know how good version one can be. Same with plot twist, and of course, like I hate to just pick 72 plot twist in version one because those are the three of the four teams at 100 right now. But I just feel like United could play good with Tristan. I just don't know if they're gonna be good enough to, because they need 40 points just to catch those other teams, and then to get ahead of them is
They need to
quite
make
another
it
jump.
to the playoffs to make it, basically. If they do that, then they're in.
Yeah, and it
I
all
think that's what
depends
they
too,
need.
because it's like we don't really know. Anytime these teams play each other in this upcoming regional event, watch it, because these are teams really battling for that major, and when you get to that major, that's double points, and that's huge for then trying to qualify for Worlds in a year from now, whenever when that comes. So it's gonna be good. Anytime any of those, what's that, 8 teams, one, two, three, four, like, yeah, whatever it is, like 8 or 9 teams play each other, they're all going to be good. Um, I'm looking forward to it. I think I hate to say it, but I gotta it's 72 plot twist in version one. I think I don't know. Like I really like plot twist, but I don't know. I really don't know. It's a rough one because at any point one of these teams could play as well as we know they can, but they could also play as poorly as they have been playing. So it's hard to say. And who knows if they all play well enough, they could surpass Jamal Jabari, who's then 20 points ahead of those teams. So honestly, they could be in this discussion as well. But I'm gonna go with those three: 72, plot twist, and version one. I know those are kind of cop out answers, but those are the three I'm going with. Um, and with that, we can move to the. I guess since we're already on North America, we can talk about the North America grid, and then we'll
Sounds
finish with
good.
Europe. So this is
So
week
week
8. Yep,
eight, yeah, this was a NRG domination.
sure was.
They beat Envy in the playoffs 4-2. They swept SSG and then swept KCP to win it all.
Yeah, and those are three. Like I don't remember if I think we had Kansas City in top 5. If not, it was number 6. Those are three top 5 teams that NRG is beating in the playoffs handily, including
Yeah,
Envy, who's been known to give them trouble. One thing actually for Omelet fans, just talking about how they might not make the next event, beating Sonics and beating Pittsburgh Knights, two teams that right now are in that regional event, like that are almost a shoe in for um, the major unless something insane happens. Um, so it looks like they're playing well against strong teams. Of course, getting swept by Space Station doesn't look great, but I mean they beat
yeah,
the
yeah.
teams that are toss ups, and it looks like fairly easily, and then losing to the teams that you'd kind of expect them to.
And version 1 beat NRG and Rogue and barely lost to the Peeps.
Wow, version one beat NRG. Jeez, I'm gonna have to go back and watch that. Yeah, so again, that's looking good for version one, beating Rogue and NRG, like you said. Those are big wins, and then losing to the Peeps in 7. So, granted, it was with a game advantage, but it's still the Peeps. The Peeps are a good team, as we've seen time and time again.
And it was a 5-minute overtime. They went 10 minutes without scoring no one scoring a goal in game
Jesus,
7th.
that must have been brutal. I'd also like to point out games. What is it? One, two, three. Was that 4 and 5? Both 2-1. Just
Yep.
just to keep just to keep it rolling. Um, yeah. So it's business as usual. The
And
quarterfinal
NRG
teams
won.
being Space Station, Envy, NRG, Peeps, Kansas City, G2. It seems like those guys are always shoe-ins for the quarterfinal, and then teams like Version One and Omelet, they kind of swap in and out between them and like Rogue and Sonics and a few
Pittsburgh
others.
Knights. Yeah.
And Knights, yeah, they've been making in. But it seems like those 6 are like mainstays in these quarterfinals. So Yeah, it's pretty clear that the top like six in North America, and they continue to show how good they are. And NRG just showing how much stronger they are than those teams. I mean, beating Kansas City 6-2 in a
Hmm.
grid deciding. And this is NRG's first grid, I'm pretty sure. So they finally have now, like I said, they've hit their stride now, and at the perfect time as they're about to go into regional event 3 to really solidify their placement for the major. And then we can slide on over to Europe if you're ready.
Um, they. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, I was just checking to see if they've won a
No,
grid
no.
yet. They've gotten, geez, they've gotten three second places.
Oh yeah. I mean,
Um,
that's why I had them rated number one. I was like, they're the other week. It's like they finally beat Space Station, but on top of that, they were constantly getting second in the grid. Like they were showing up. They just couldn't
yeah.
finish it off.
So then for EU, it was cool to see Guild make it pretty far, getting to the final. They beat Endpoint and Liquid to get there.
Hmm.
Um, but BDS literally swept Vitality, Giants, and Guild to win it.
Yeah, that's frightening. And those
So,
all obviously being best of sevens as well.
yep.
Like that's and it's kind of surprising too. It's like Triple Trouble took them to. I've noticed that with BDS, they always have a slow time starting, but once they get going, they're really good. So it's like I think the time to beat them is in those first rounds. Like you saw them struggle with Dignitas, and then they played better against Vitality. I assume a similar thing happened in this grid where it's like pretty close series with Triple Trouble, close series with Dignitas, and as you can see, it's like they won the final two games against Dignitas. They won the final two games against Triple Trouble, so it takes them a little while to get warmed up. Also, the last three games of that Triple Trouble BDS series, all 2-1. Interesting. Um, but then they get to the playoffs and they're rolling. 4 over Vitality, 4 over our Giants, and then 4-0 over Guild. Like they also two games against Renault Vitality, 2-1. Holy, they were that Giants BDS series must have been very exciting. The last three games were all 3-2. The last two both going to overtime. That must have been a rough one for Giants because it looks like it could have gone in their favor.
Hmm.
And then as for Guild, again another multiple three. It looks like they've just been scoring 3 goals a game, and that's been enough to then hold off the other team.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, BDS are still really good. Don't let this past weekend deter any confidence in you. They're still, a team that's just walking through people. Um, Again, a similar thing where we see a lot of the same teams in these quarterfinals: BDS, Vitality, Giants, Oxygen, and Guild. And then I'd say Endpoint is in and out. Liquid's been in and out. Monkeys have been more in recently, but they weren't for a while there. Again, a lot of the same teams. It seems like Barca doesn't do very well in the grid, and I don't
No,
really know
they are
why.
not a very good grid team.
But, that's European grid. Do you have anything else about it?
I do not.
Okay. Top Bloke's missing out. That's actually kind of surprising for the grid. They lose it on their way to endpoint. But yeah, that's everything for the EU grid, and we've already done our predictions for. I'll leave you with one prediction for
Well,
next weekend.
also, Archie didn't play in the
Oh, that's right, he didn't. No. Oh yeah, he didn't. That's probably a reason. Archie didn't play.
hmm,
Um,
and he's their best player.
yes, I would agree. Um, I'll leave you with one last prediction for next week. We're Next week we're getting all of regional event 3 for North America. It's coming Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Getting everything done 4 straight days. Who's winning it?
NRG.
Okay,
I
then we
think
are in
you agree
agreement.
as well. Yeah.
It's
Like they're just playing so well right now. It's not even like close at the moment.
yeah. I think it's also very impressive that that the turn of one weekend went from Space Station winning everything forever. Now it's just NRG winning everything until they prove us they can't. It's really interesting to see how NA works that way.
We'll
Um
see how the team house though works for Space Station
oh
because they're
that's
moving
right.
into a team house right now.
Um Outside of NRG then. I'm gonna actually no. I'll give you an upset. Who do you not NRG, not Space Station? if you can't pick one of those teams, who do you think would be the surprise team to win the regional event?
Probably Envy
Yeah,
if they beat
that was
them.
my choice as well.
I mean, it's between them and G2. I
Yep.
think it's clear.
Yeah.
Well, yeah,
Yeah, I think it's between those two. Kansas City could do it, but I feel like G2 and Envy are more
yeah. I
clutch.
think KCP's been playing pretty well, but I don't think they can win a regional event yet.
Yeah. All right. Again, more standard picks. We go. The number one team would win, if not the number two, if not the number three, if not the next and the next and the next. So look forward to next week. We're gonna run it all back, do it all again. Um, and Wally, thanks for joining me as always.
Thanks for having me.
Anytime. And thank you for listening. And we will catch you again next week.
See ya.
Bye bye.